Hello there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and today I'm going to be sharing my review of this new recycled cotton yarn from our friends at DMC, and this yarn is called Nova Vita. So what we'll do is we're going to talk about what's on the yarn label, my first impressions, and then what we'll do is we'll start crocheting with it, and so you can see what it's like to work with. So if you're ready to get started, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to my channel. So as I said, this is the new yarn called Nova Vita from DMC. It is a recycled cotton, and I always like to try out products that are recycled. Obviously, we want to try and limit our impact the impact that our crafting has on the environment. So I like to try recycled products like this, and you might not be able to see it. I hope you can on the camera, but essentially this is a very bulky yarn that is a chainette construction. It's little knitted tubes essentially, and I've created something similar with thread and fingering weight yarn in a little loom knitter that I have, but you know, having it already done for me makes it a lot quicker. So essentially this is where did I see it? Their yarn label is a little different than what I'm used to. So this is 80% recycled cotton, 20% polyester. This is approximately 250 grams for this little skein, and it has approximately 55 meters or 60.14 yards. And it says here that it is, they have these pictures here of home decor items, as that's what the recommended use is. I have the color called 71. It's like a light blue color. But if you go to the DMC website, and I'll link that below, there are, I think there was 23 different colors. And there's quite a few like really bold, beautiful colors that I would consider picking up. But it says it can be used for knitting, crochet, or macrame. The recommended needle size for knitters is 12 millimeter, and it's a little backwards here for the crochet recommended crochet hook size. It's 12 millimeter, and then it says /10 millimeter. So I'm assuming that they're wanting to say that that's the range of hook sizes that they recommend is from a 10 to 12 millimeter. And I have a 10 millimeter hook here, which is a P from Furls, and we're going to be trying that out with this yarn. It says for the gauge information that in a 4x4 inch swatch, you should be getting approximately 6 stitches across and 10 rows. So it is machine washable, and it doesn't recommend putting it in the dryer or dry cleaning or ironing it. So that's where we're at with the yarn label information. The yarn itself is very soft. I'm trying to get the label off so we can start crocheting with it. In the cake or skein, whatever you'd like to call this format, it is very soft, and being cotton and so bulky, I'm assuming that it's going to be giving us quite a structured product or fabric at the end. Now, trying to find the end of this and where we're going to start is an adventure in itself, it looks like. There we go. So, looking at the strand, it doesn't say on the side of the label here, but I'd say this is absolutely a size 6, super bulky. I wouldn't say it was a jumbo, definitely size 6. It does seem to be about the same size as a Lion brand Woolies Thick and Quick, if you're familiar with working with that. So at the end of our yarn here, you can see that it is frayed, but you can see that it is a knitted tube, because I can see the little loops that were on the little loom that were used to knit this strand. So that is something that you'd want to be mindful of when you are crocheting with this, is that you're going to have to, I like to either burn the ends of my yarn, I haven't tried it with this, but or dip it in sort of like wax and then weave it in to make sure that that's not going anywhere. You could also use glue, or if you want it to be like really secure, but you don't mind taking the time, you could also use a thread in a coordinating color and stitch these loops together to make sure that they don't unravel. Or if you really, you're in a hurry, you can just use a knot. So lots of options, but just something to be aware of. So my first thought when this yarn arrived was that I thought, you know what, this would be a great basket. I'm always, for some reason, losing the baskets that I make around the house. So we're going to just test this out, and we're going to create a little basket in the process. I am using a size P 10 millimeter furls swirl crochet hook. And so I'm going to start here by doing a magic circle. And if you're not familiar with this technique, you can find a tutorial for that here on the blog or in the YouTube channel. All right, so you've got this started. And so just because it's easy, I'm going to do single crochets, and then I'm going to place 8 single crochets into, oops, no, I'm going to do 6. We're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic circle. You can see it is a little difficult to pull through here, but I'm using the smallest recommended hook size because I want to have structure in this basket. So we've got 4, 5, and 6. I really like the stitch definition I'm seeing so far. There we go. You really have to pull that, but I can already tell that it's going to be a nice stiff basket, and nobody likes baskets with really floppy sides, right? So I'm bringing out a stitch marker because I'm going to be working in rounds now, and then I'm going to place 2 single crochets into that first stitch. This is designing on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. I did not initially plan to do this with you on the camera, but hey, you guys get to make a basket along with me if you'd like. You could also use another super bulky yarn, or you could do this in another size yarn if you don't want to match the size of basket that I'm making. Then I'm placing 2 single crochets into each stitch around, and at the end I will have 12 single crochets. So you can see how stiff this is to work with. If you are, because it is pulling on my hand in this section here a little bit. So I always like to go up a hook size if it is hurting my hand like that. So it's never worth hurting your hands to crochet something over when you can just change up your gauge a little bit, and should be a little easier on your hands. But it isn't too bad right now, so I'm going to just keep going because at the end I really want that stiff hard basket with the nice stiff sides that I'm expecting I'm going to get from this. Okay, so there's our second round. That's 12 single crochets. And then we're going to place 1 single crochet into the first stitch here. And then we'll place 2 single crochets into the second stitch. One single crochet in the next. And 2 single crochets in the next. And we're repeating this pattern of 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochets in the next, around. At the end of this round, we should have 18 single crochets. This would be really good for a plant coaster. With all that cotton, it should be pretty absorbent. So if you overwatered your plants, it would help soak it all up, and you could just toss it in the machine afterwards. Just remembering not to put it in the dryer. Goodness. All right, we're working into our last 2 stitches here. And you know what? I think I'm just going to make a small basket because I need a little basket on my desk to hold my crochet hooks when I'm doing things like this so that they don't roll off the table. So this will be my base here. Gauge isn't that important when you're doing a basket like this. And so I'm not super worried about it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to work into the back loops only of each stitch around, and I'm just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch. And I'm moving up my stitch marker into with each round to mark the first stitch. My little stitch marker's a little small for the job here, but it will do. Yeah, this has some really nice stitch definition. It is a little hard on your hands to crochet with at this point with the 10 millimeter. I would probably try this again because I will have yarn left over. I'll probably try this again with a larger size hook. But I do find most super bulky or even bulky weight cottons like this require a little more muscle than your standard yarn. But like I've said already, if you want the structure in your basket, unfortunately this is the kind of work that you're going to have to put in for it, right? Unless you want to support the sides of your basket with something like cardboard, plastic canvas, or anything like that. All right, so I've done all of my stitches around. I'm just going to pop that here, and that's going to be my base. I'm just going to pull this here because I'm noticing it's coming a little loose. If you find that and you could knot it on this side so that way it won't be able to slide through on you. But I'm just going to turn that so I have the right side facing me. And that is the bottom of our basket. And I'm just going to work in single crochet in each stitch around. I'm going to go back to working under both loops. And I'm just going to continue to single crochet around until my basket is the height that I would like it to be. That's 2 rounds of single crochet. If you'd like to continue, you can just working the amount of single crochets you'd like for your height. I'm going to continue to working on mine here, and I'll come back and tell you exactly how many rows I did, and I'll show you my finished little basket. All right, so I have reached a height that I think is good for my basket, and I'm just going to pull my hook out of the way here so you can see it's really solid. It's got some like really great sides. It's not falling over. I've tested it out with several of my hooks here, just pulling them And it's a good height. It's not falling over, and I've got 4 different hooks in this little basket here. So I'm really happy with that. I love that the structure is exactly what I was hoping for, and it's a pretty solid little basket. So I'm happy with the height. If you wanted to continue on, you can keep crocheting. I did, let's see, I left you at 2, so I did 4 more rows. So I did a total of 6 rows for my sides. Again, if you wanted something bigger, you could keep going. And just to tell you how many grams this little basket is taking, it looks like I used about 113 grams, which is almost half of one of the skeins, because one skein of this has 250 grams. So to finish this off, and just because I want to be a little extra cautious, I'm going to cut my yarn tail a little longer than normal. Because again, as you can see when I cut, hopefully you can see that. When I cut it, there is some yarn fiber that does come off of there. So I'm just making sure that I've got lots of extra space so I can seal that off appropriately. So on my last stitch here, I'm just going to pull the yarn all the way through my stitch. And then I'm going to use my crochet hook, and I'm going to insert my hook from back to front through the second stitch of the last round. And I'm going to use that hook to grab the yarn tail and pull it through the stitch, like so. I'm going to move that stitch marker out of the way. And what we're doing here is I'm duplicating my first stitch of the round with this yarn tail, so that way I have a nice even edge on my basket. And that way, even though I didn't work in joined rounds, I have a nice side to my basket with no clear joins, and I'll have a nice clean edge at the top. So what we're doing is we're just essentially duplicating this first stitch here. So next I'm going to come from the back of my work, and I'm going to pick up that back loop only. Okay, hopefully you can see that okay. I'll show you one more time. Taking my hook, coming from the inside of the basket, under the back loop only, and out through to the front. I'm going to pick up that yarn tail, and I'm going to pull that tail to the inside of my basket. And when I pull this through, if you look at it from the top, you'll see that the yarn creates a V. And now the reason we're doing this is because we didn't work in joined rounds for our size. We just worked in a continuous spiral. And that gives us the best looking fabric because you don't have any visible joins with a slip stitch. But now, that if I don't do this, I'll have an uneven edge at the top. But by doing this, and if you pull this until it looks like like the first stitch of your round, I now have a nice, even, clean edge to the top of my basket, and I'm all done. So now what I'll do is I'll weave in my ends, and my basket is all good to go, and now I have a little basket for my desk to hold my hooks. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and help you in any way that I can. And if you give this basket a try and you want to share it on social media, please use the hashtag #TheLoopyLamb, and so that way I can see your projects and share them as well. So thanks so much to DMC for sharing this new product with us, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And if you enjoy free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.